Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing kind of a fun video. I've been teasing this video for like a while now. I told you guys I was working on this. And basically what it is all the palettes that I pulled out and used during the quarantine. Just to give you a little recap, I basically was I feel like a lot of us were in a forced no-buy during quarantine where, you know, we were financially impacted and we weren't able to buy makeup or buy new shit because we needed to use our money for survival, you know. I had decided that I was going to do this because I didn't want to participate in pushing, I don't know, FOMO, I guess, because you know, I was kind of experiencing it, especially during the Sephora sale, and I was just like, God, I want to get so many things, but I can't right now. So I really kind of just dove into my collection. You know, I have so much makeup, and I'm like, why do I constantly feel like I need new shit when I have all this makeup that I never use, and it's just sitting here, and it's perfectly amazing. And anything new I get is going to end up in these drawers the same as the rest of this stuff. So anyway, I just decided to go through my stuff and kind of get reacquainted with the things in my collection. Now, I did a pretty solid declutter when I moved back in October, and I got rid of a lot of palettes. But the ones I kept, I feel like I kept a really good selection, so I'm pretty happy with everything that I have. I did think about ranking this video, but I really didn't get a chance to really dig into some of the palettes. Like some of them I used them, maybe a shade, but I didn't like really just use the whole palette. So, you know, I don't think ranking them is really fair at this point. But what I thought I would do is I would go through all of the looks that I posted with the palettes on Instagram, and there's a couple probably that I didn't post, but I'm going to post the pictures of each look and the palette that I created with it, and I'm gonna just kind of discuss a little bit. I mean, there's a lot here, so I'm not gonna get too, like, it's not a review or anything, but we're just gonna chat about it. So if you guys would like to see all the palettes that I used during quarantine and hear my thoughts, see the looks I created, then keep on watching. So all of the looks that I ever create, especially on YouTube, but most of the time if I'm like going to sit down and create like a glam look, I'm going to post it on the gram, or I'm going to take a photo of it and possibly post it on the gram. Sometimes things don't make the cut, but it's always my intention, like if I'm going to go ahead and put makeup on, I might as well take a photo for the gram, right? But I also like to list the details of what I have on any like YouTube video. If I'm going to create an eye look, I will list all the makeup details on Instagram, so it's kind of like a resource. So if you're like wanting to remind yourself of like a look that you saw in a video, it's all there in one place on Instagram. I've been posting a lot of makeup photos during quarantine, and the rule that I set for myself was, if I'm going to sit down and do anything, I have to pick from the pile of eyeshadows that I haven't used yet. So once I used a palette, I then put it in the bin, and whatever was left in the pile was what I could pick from the next time. So that way I could really get through a lot more. All right, so the first one is the Naked Reloaded palette. This is a palette that I use all the time. This is nothing new, but I did use it in the beginning of quarantine because I was doing Instagram lives with Taryn Feldman, who is a celebrity makeup artist, and every week we were creating different looks. And the look we created was this bronze smoky eye. So I reached for this because this is my go-to neutral palette, and it was still early on in the quarantine, and I don't know if I had made the decision to like do this at that point yet, but I did use this palette, so I figured I would include it. I did create this bright pink look using the Bretman Rock palette. This was sent me in PR before quarantine. I did a look with it using the greens, which I had posted before quarantine. And I had filmed a video, but I then refilmed it because I didn't like the footage. So I did use this palette during quarantine. Again, not shop my stash per se, but I used it, so I figured I would discuss. But I did use, obviously, the pinks and reds and the black and the brown, I think. And yeah, it was a good this is a good palette. This is a really good palette. I really like it. I created this really fun, like, blue, purple, like, whatever look. What am I saying? Blue, purple lid look. And I did so using the Urban Decay Game of Thrones palette. I revisited this, and first of all, I love the look. And second of all, I love this palette. I don't use it nearly enough, in my opinion. I mean, I haven't used it in quite a while. And every time I use it, I'm like, oh, this palette's so good. And this was one of those palettes that, like, you either loved it or you didn't. You know, if you were into Game of Thrones, you probably loved it. If you weren't into Game of Thrones, you probably just didn't understand it because this packaging is, like, so bulky and weird, and it has like a pop-up and stuff of the Iron Throne. It's like a big and bulky and weird. But if you're a fan of the show, then I mean, like, it's just epic. I did the Foxy Eye trend. I did a video for that, and I also posted on Instagram some photos, and I used the Urban Decay Born to Run palette for that look. And again, I was reminded, like, why I love it so much. I have a lot of Urban Decay and a lot of BH Cosmetics. I just do. So, you know, that's what I have. So that's what I used. But again, that one's another like staple, you know, just such a good palette. Okay, so then I did another IG live with Taryn, and we created this like pink and purple look, and while we were filming this, I had a bunch of palettes in front of me, and I just started using a bunch of them. So for this look, I did use 2 palettes. I did dip into the Urban Decay Game of Thrones palette for that. I used the purple. I also used the BH Color Festival palette, and I used this pink color here. And this was one of those palettes that I only really used one color from it. In quarantine, like, I didn't really get to hardcore revisit this palette, but I want to, because look at it, it's so amazing. Yeah, this was one that I loved it when it came out, but I really don't use it very often, so I was glad to at least get some use out of it, even if it was only one shade. So I did this golden look. This was actually a sponsored post that I did in collaboration with this eyeglasses company. And can we talk about these glasses? They're designed by Cynthia Rowley, and they have studs on them, and they're so amazing. I don't like to wear glasses ever. I usually wear contacts. But I love those glasses. Like, I've been wearing glasses more because I love this pair. Anyway, the look that I created to wear with the glasses, I did use the Naked Honey palette from Urban Decay. I hadn't visited this in quite a while, like probably since the palette came out. Like, I used it a bunch right around the launch, and then it got put on the shelf with all the rest of my Naked palettes, and I really haven't visited it much since. But I love the look, and I thought it was like the perfect tones to go with the glasses, because I think the whole purpose of that campaign was to, like, create a look that matches the glasses. Okay, so this next look was a look that I posted only on the gram and on TikTok. I didn't film this one for YouTube, but for this look, the eyeshadow that I did use, I used the Born to Run. So this was the second look that I actually did use Born to Run with. I really liked this look, and it was so far out of my comfort zone, it's like not even funny. And then the last one that I posted on the gram was this teal look. Now for this look, this was a fun look and random. I used the Zodiac Love Signs palette. Oh my god, I haven't pulled this out in forever. And I used this color right here. And that's all I have from my lid all the way to my crease. And then I blended it out with a shade in this palette. This is the Take Me to Ibiza palette from BH Cosmetics. And I used this minty green color here as my blending shade in that look, and I thought it came out really good. This is way outside my comfort zone, not something that I would ever wear like normally if I wasn't like trying to do something outside of my comfort zone intentionally for Instagram. But again, this is another look I didn't post on YouTube, but I did post it on TikTok and Instagram. So I really liked that one. I thought that was fun. Both palettes are so good. This one I actually used a couple of times in quarantine, the Ibiza palette, and it's so good. This is a good ass palette, okay? It's good because it's pigmented, it blends out well and all that. So the performance is there. But I love the color story. I love that you have like so many neutral options on this side, but then you have like colors, you know? I don't know. It's just such a good palette to have in your collection. And I don't know. It's fun. And I don't use it hardly at all. And then this one, same thing. This one was really fun to use. Even though I only used the one shade, it reminded me how much I like this, and I really need to pull it out and use it more. Santa Fe I used recently. I used that in a followers pick my makeup YouTube video. As I'm filming this, I haven't posted the photos on Instagram yet, but I'm going to put a picture right here of the look. I really loved how the look came out. This is a very specific palette because it's very burnt terracotta vibes, and it's monochromatic-ish. So I don't reach for this hardly at all. In fact, I forget about it. Like, I completely forget about it, but I love how huge these pans are. Like, you're never gonna run out of shadows. Like, you're never gonna run out of shadows in this palette. Like, you're gonna have it forever. And BH is always having sales on their website. I used to have a promo code for BH, by the way. I don't anymore. I got kicked off the island, I guess. No, I heard a rumor from somebody on the BH team. It wasn't a rumor. It's like they kind of slid into my DMs and told me what was up. That they had new management come in and overhaul their PR, and they kicked a ton of people off the PR list. Like, they just redid it, and basically whoever came in, I guess they just want certain people on, and some members of the BH team were very upset by it, but whatever. I mean, I don't want to start drama, but I got kicked off the PR list. And it's funny because I have like a whole playlist on my channel of all BH Cosmetics, and I've reviewed every single palette. Whatever. It's fine. Anyway, this was a good palette, and I was reminded of that in that followers pick my makeup video. I did play with this off camera. This isn't new, but it's not old either, but I did pull this out during quarantine. You know, you guys, I want so badly to love this palette. I want so badly to love this palette. When I look at it, I love it. It's like the hot guy who is like so beautiful on the outside, but then you get to know him and you're like, man, what a disappointment. That is this palette for me. Every single time I use this palette, I end up with a shower of eyeshadow all over my face. If you do not use like this Babs color right here, it's not a pressed glitter like this one and this one, but it still ends up all over my face. The pressed glitters, forget about it. If you don't use a glitter glue, like, they're all over your face. But the Babs shade does the same thing, and I don't know, every time I use it, I just feel like I look in the mirror a couple hours later and I'm like, God damn it, I have eyeshadow all over my face. And that's a very frustrating for me. Another palette I dug into that does that same thing is this Goddess palette from Alter Ego. This is a dupe for the Natasha Denona Gold palette. I look at this palette and it's like that hot guy again. Like, so hot. And then you get to know him and you're like, fuck. Why do you have to suck? That's this palette for me. God, it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. I mean, that's an ode to Natasha Denona. It's not really Alter Ego, but their formula, I don't know, it just ends up all over your face. All over your face. And I tried it again. I have another palette from them that I have on, I had in the piles to try, and I haven't gotten to it because after I used this one, I was like, man, like, I want to declutter you. Because you just disappoint me. All right, we have a couple more here. Not on camera. I used this Huda Beauty palette. I think I didn't even take pictures of the look I created, but I did use some of the colors that I have never used in the palette. This cashmere color I know I think I used this musk color. I created basically a cool toned neutral eye look. It was like a brownie cool toned look. This is a good palette. This is a freaking bomb palette. Still love it. Huda Beauty. Ooh, this palette here. This is the BH La Vie Done Prince collaboration. I did do a video on this a while back when it came out. And it came out in the winter, which I don't understand because does that palette not scream spring to you? Because it screams spring to me. And I said that when I reviewed it when it first came out. I was like, this is an interesting palette to launch in the winter. But I did do a look on IG Live. I don't know, it hasn't gone on my Instagram as I'm filming this video, but the look is really pretty peachy look, and I did use these colors here, and I think I used some of these too, and I really liked how that look came out. This shadow, the Metamorphosis shadow right here, is gorgeous. That's what I have in the center of the lid, and it's just such a beautiful color. This palette though is excellent. These shadows are super buttery and creamy, and they blend out really well, and I just think it's so fun with the neons and then the neutrals, so it kind of makes the neons a little bit more approachable. Like, I would love to do a look with this color, like kind of all over from the lid to the crease, kind of like I did that teal look, something similar like that. I think I want to try that because I haven't used any of these. Except I think I used Monarch. Yeah, I used Monarch only because I used that one in the peach look. But I haven't used any of the other ones. Just the neutral colors. So this is another really good palette, like from BH. This guy. How old school. Like, it's dirty. I'm not even going to bother. The packaging on this is not good because it's picks up every fingerprint. But the BH Cosmetics Gilded palette. This is the Glam Reflections collection that they put out like 2 or 3 years ago. This marked the beginning of BH stepping up their eyeshadow game to a whole new level. This collection, there were 4. I have the rest of them over there. I've never decluttered any of them because they hold such a special place in my heart. But this one, this has Naked Honey vibes, doesn't it? But the only, or one of the major differences to this palette is that it has some of these warm tones in there. But this color right here is like the star of the show for me. This is a burnt reddish brown shimmer. It's not even going to pick up on camera as beautiful as it is, but it's my favorite shade in this whole palette. But these, the pigment on these, like this gold right here, it's so good. And this palette, like, it's old. Like, I've had this palette for like 3 years, and it still performs like amazing. These were awesome. I don't know if you can get them anymore. And this, the other shade that's my favorite in this palette is this one here, and this is a dirty green like shimmer. It's like a dirty olive green, and I love it. None of these shades have names on them, but that's okay. This palette is awesome, and I don't remember what look I created with it, but I didn't post it. I just was playing around with it one day, and I was like, dang it, this is a good one too. So that is all of them. Oh, and no, it isn't. I have two more. The look I created today, I used two palettes. I used this guy, which I haven't used in forever. This is the BH Cosmetics Ultimate Matte Palette. I mean, this is a 42 shade all matte palette. Does looking at that not just bring you so much joy? Because it brings me so much joy. And I don't use this palette nearly enough because it's so big and bulky. The way I have it stored, it's like on the bottom of a bunch of palettes. So I just always forget about it. But like I had to. So this entire look on my eyes right now was created with this palette, except for the pop of shimmer in my inner corner, obviously, because this is a matte palette. But I used all these good shades over here to create this. And wow, this palette is so freaking good. If you're a BH Cosmetics fan and you don't have this palette and you can still get this palette, you need this palette because it's amazing. I mean, if you like to play, you know, because these colors, there's colors in here that you can play, but they're not crazy. They're definitely approachable in my opinion, you know, like they're not crazy, you know, neons or whatever. I think like the brightest color in here is this guy right here, but like even these I need a wipe. Like this yellow, it's yellow, but it's approachable, I feel. Like the only downside to this palette is that it is just awkward. It's huge, like huge. And because of that, like I said, I don't get to use it nearly enough, which is a little bit disappointing. And the last palette is the palette that I used for the pop of shimmer that's in my inner corner, and that is this guy, and this is the Stellar Collision palette from BH Cosmetics, and the shade I used was this one right here, and it is like this pinky gold duochrome goodness. Like, I love this palette. I don't know if you can, if the camera's gonna pick up the shimmer on here. This is a straight shimmer palette, but these are the best shimmers ever. Like, if you want a foiled, metallic, see it from space sheen on your lids, like this palette is so good. It's so good. And yeah, I don't use it a lot. And I love it so much, but it's just one of those things. Like if I pull out a palette to do a look, I usually try to use just that palette. Very rarely do I pull from other palettes to create one look. I did that a lot during quarantine because I was trying to get use out of all these palettes. So I did venture out into other palettes to create one look, and I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed this whole experience. And you know what? I forgot to mention, I did use these bite-size eyeshadow palettes from e.l.f. to do a video. These are $3 each. I did actually purchase these during quarantine. These are the only items that I purchased during quarantine, and I did it so that I could review them for you guys, so that if you couldn't spend money but you were having a little FOMO, you know, I wanted to find out if these were any good to recommend as something that you could, you know, treat yourself to sort of lift your spirits during quarantine, but you wouldn't be spending a lot of money. And it turned out that these were pretty freaking amazing, and I really liked the look that I created with them, and yeah, these were great too. So boom, 19 palettes during quarantine. I'm pretty proud of myself. That was That's really good. I'm really glad. Even though I only used like one shade in the Color Festival palette, it still counts. I dipped into 19 palettes. That's really good. Because I have a tendency to stick with the same stuff. Like if I get a new palette in, I'll just use that for a while until I move on to the next new palette. And that palette that I was using gets thrown in the bottom of the drawer. That is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Hit the bell so you never miss when I upload a video. You can follow me on social. My handle's @GlamLatte. And don't forget the Glam Latte Beauty Podcast is on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher Radio, CastBox, and iHeartRadio. All those details are in the description box down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love you so much, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys.
I just wanna hold you. I just wanna look into your eyes and tell you that I want you.